going on YouTube? So today we're going to actually be learning about motion blur or blurry photos. What causes them, what to look for, what settings to use to try to eliminate it as much as possible. So basically there's two types of blur. There's the blur from yourself when you're hand holding the photo and you're not matching the focal length of the lens with the shutter speed. For example, 50mm lens, you should always be at a minimum of 50mm if you want to eliminate any possibility of handheld shakiness. Even if you don't detect it, the camera will actually pick it up. So when you press the shutter button, there is a slight movement of the camera. That will actually translate into a blurred photo. Same thing when you're on a tripod and there's vibrations and things like that. That can affect it as well. The higher the shutter speed, the more chance you have to eliminate that. Now, the other type of motion blur is, well, I call it speed blur, and it's basically when you're shooting the subject, if you're using too slow of a shutter speed, then the subject you're shooting will be blurred out. Everything else will be nice and crystal clear. So I'm going to show you the settings, and you'll see exactly what these different settings do, and hopefully this will help you. Okay, so just to show you, I will be shooting at a focal length of 50mm, and I'm going to have it mounted to a tripod here. And as you can see, my focus point right now is on the fence, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to gently tap the tripod so you can see a little bit of movement from the camera. It's also throwing off the focus here. But setting is 1/5 of a second, f16, ISO 100, and it is overexposed by one stop, but that's fine. And gonna use the remote. Got my remote here. I'm not sure if you can see that. Wireless remote. And all right, so I wonder if I tilt it that way. Okay, and then fire once it lands to simulate the hitting of the shutter. So here we go. Oh. Why is this not working? Okay, so let's see what we got. So, yeah, as you can see, the fence is blurred. It is blurry. Now, what I'm going to do is increase this to 1/50th to match the focal length I'm shooting at. And drop the aperture down. Keep the settings the same, ISO 100. Okay, and let's attempt that again. And there you go, much sharper compared to the other photo. Okay, now the other issue is motion blur from the subject itself. So let me just get the focus point on here. Okay, so that looks good, right? Nice and sharp? Oh yeah. Nice and sharp. Okay. Oops. All right. Well, let's do that. Then flip it to manual focus so it does not change. And 1/50th of a second. Now what I'm going to do is actually shake the bird feeder here. Actually, we're over by one too many, so let's 5.6. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to shake the bird feeder. And here we go. So let's see what happened. Oh yeah, way blurry, right? Because it's way too slow of a shutter speed. So let's increase the shutter speed to 1/100th of a second, and we'll leave it that way and shake it again. Okay, so still way too blurry. Right? So let's crank this to 200. What I'll do is drop the aperture down a bit. Let's see what happened. A little better. All right. Do another shake. Now let's go to 400. I don't want to change the aperture, so I'm going to go to ISO 200. And we're getting a little bit more sharpness here. A little bit. And I want to get it super sharp, so let's go to 1/800. So I'm increasing everything by one stop here. And since I don't want to change the aperture, I have to increase the ISO. So let's give it another shake. And that's way off on the side there. And you can see you actually have detail in there. Right? Could be a bit better. Could go for a bit more sharpness. So let's go to 1/1600th of a second. And I don't want to change the aperture, so let's increase the ISO to 800. Give it another shake. And let's see. There we go. And now that it's slowed down, let's do another shot and it should be perfect. So it's all based on the speed of the subject as well. And there you have it. Now, let's go to green mode. I don't have any actual, I never use this mode, but let's see if there is. No. So this is a full automatic mode. And all it's going to do is just change the settings so that you get a proper exposure. And let's see what happens when you try to do an action shot in basically full automatic mode. Actually, not too bad. It is a bit blurry though at the bottom. Little bit blurry at the bottom. Let's do a spin. See how that turns out. Not too bad. Let's go back to manual. And let's drop the shutter speed down just to simulate using incorrect exposure values for the subject. 1/60th should be okay. Actually, let's go back down to the beginning of 1/50th, 5.6, ISO 100. Alright, now let me spin this again. And you can see it's not very sharp at all. You can see that there is motion, right? So now if we increase this to, say, 1/250th of a second, bring this up to 1/400 just to keep the exposure the same. Spin it again. And almost eliminated any movement. It's not quite enough. Let's go 1/640th and ISO 1000. There we go. Virtually eliminated the spin. So I hope this helps, and well, actually, you will see me on my next video.